zombies fight.
So excited to be back. It's me, Saber. I played Cypher, and I do these talk shows after we wrap up campaigns and stuff. So if you're new to this, it's super chill. It's not super structured or scheduled. It really does go based on how you folks, the audience, interact with us in the chat. So I've got an eye on the chat in Twitch, and I usually have YouTube opened as well, so I will do that right away. But I'll let these folks go around and introduce themselves, introduce their characters again, and just a quick disclaimer that if you haven't watched the show, there will be a lot of spoilers happening in this particular talkback. So maybe you just go watch that and come back and watch this on the VOD later. But we'll go around. I'll give the reins back over to our Dungeon Bartholomew Master, Kai, and then if you wouldn't mind passing it on to somebody else until everybody's got a chance to introduce themselves.
Sounds great. Hi, everybody. I'm Kai. I was your Dungeon Bartholomew Master for Of Those Lost, and I use he, they, and she pronouns. And boy, I loved this game, y'all. I'm going to bounce it over to Jade.
I'm Jade. I use she, they pronouns, and I played Kaja, who also used she, they pronouns, and this was a blast. And I'll pass it over to Arcady.
Hi, I'm Arcady. I go by she, her, and I played Pell, who goes by she, they. And yeah, Pell was my little shadow magic sorcerer changeling girl. I'll pass it to John.
Hi, I'm Jonathan.
Supposed to do something.
He, him. I played Bevan, he, him, the tiefling gloomstalker ranger, and Pell's best friend / person who tries to keep her from dying. And finally, Sean.
Hi, I'm Puck. He, him, and I played Gabbro Scoria, who's a goofy dude who's got some quests he needs to complete out in the world. You know, he's there to serve the earth, and you know what that looks like is really up to him. So
Murder.
Occasionally murder. It's occasionally murder.
Thank you, everyone, for your introductions. I was really hoping for the I am Gabbro Scoria.
But I'm not Gabbro Scoria anymore.
I mean, aren't we all just a little bit all the time? Yeah, me too. Me too. But, you know, Cypher Special Boy Skull Staff sure did not like Gabbro. Actually, that's one of my biggest regrets is not wrapping up the Cypher Gabbro thing as much as I wanted to in the last episode. There was like a disconnect of where our characters had parted in different ways, and I missed not having that opportunity to like have one final conversation, but you know, YOLO. Or you only live, actually, maybe
more than once, possibly.
Yo, little.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so we'll get right into some questions here, and I really like to do ones that come from the community. So I'm gonna start with one from our Mercs Discord. So if somebody could just throw the Discord into the chats, that would be really great. This one comes from Luna, and Luna didn't get a chance to finish the series yet, but still produced a really awesome question that we can answer. It was, what were your favorite moments or character interactions? And for DBM Kai, do you have any thoughts on what different NPCs are doing after the events of the campaign? So those are two questions, and I'll post them in our Zoom chat as well as the chats on YouTube and Twitch. And anybody can start by answering one of those two questions.
I mean, I'm hanging out at the tower. Gabbro is chilling at the tower with his new friend Woodman and an adorable puppy, and slowly cleansing the earth of its deep corruption and ready for the next time that his fancy new mace, which was given to him permanently, to be used as an instrument of vengeance upon those who would corrupt this land.
Did you have a favorite moment? Like, does something stand out for you?
I mean, there was a ton of really good moments in there. I think the stuff that really stands out for me is the little interactions that I had. I mean, like running around, breaking the cabinets and eating the bread in Devlin's house, and running into Cypher, sneaking in through the back door and being like, oh, just going ham in this place. It's gonna say, I am sneaking. You need to just stop. I need to be sneaking. It was just, I really appreciated every moment where I got to be Gabbro. Gabbro would say and do things, and everyone would just be silent immediately afterwards.
Yeah, he was a really cool character. Having been that type of character in your game, it was just like bizarre being a completely different character and watching you do what I do and being like, was I that annoying all the time? Thanks, Buck.
No problem. I like to be that mirror.
I liked it too, truth be told. Anybody else? Thoughts?
I liked Pavlo with the little ghost NPC boy. He had some of my favorite little interactions because it was sad. And anytime a DM can make me like genuinely tear up a bit, it's very good. Some of my favorite character interactions, though, for me personally, I was very surprised. This kind of matches Kai's question too, surprised about relationships with characters. Pell and Cypher are like such a good problem team. Like, we're going to cause problems on purpose, and I think it works because one has a moral compass and the other totally lacks a moral compass, and so it's a very good dynamic.
I mean, fair. I almost like wished that there would be like a separate for those two, just to like almost like a mini series or something, because like their dynamic was so not at all what I was expecting, and I really wanted more from them, because I think they were rubbing off on each other in a good way.
Yes, I in all games, I genuinely think the best character relationships, like platonic, romantic, across the board, whatever, is when one character has what another character needs a little bit of. Like, and I think they're very much characters that need a little bit of what each other has. I think Pell needs like a little better danger sense with her adventure, and she gets that. And I think Cypher needs a little bit more of a moral conscience.
Yeah, and I think like Kaja helped with that too.
Yeah.
For those of you who, I mean, we know, but you didn't know that before the campaign started, we were all given an opportunity to make a relationship or two relationships before the campaign began. It was like one of the greatest things our Dungeon Bartholomew Master did, although there were many great things. But I think that one really helped set the beginning of the story in a great way. And so Kaja and Cypher had just such a cool moment before, and it helped, I think, solidify Cypher having a moral compass at all. And then Pell kind of came in episode 1 and helped that be more solid right off the bat. And I think one of Cypher's things that is a character flaw in me is trying to fix things and trying to fix people. And Pell right away set that boundary and said that like that's not your job, that's not your role. Yeah. And like as I took it a little bit like personally at first, and then I was like, no, I think this is so good for both me and Cypher. So that was one of my favorite moments, was that moment with Pell and Cypher right at the beginning.
Also, shout out to that moment as a whole, because it was something that Beth and I talked about at length. And it was very nice for it to come up just circumstantially, perfectly in character. And I'll let Arcady talk about it in more detail, but like we agreed that wasn't the trajectory of her character.
Yeah, Pell starts the game sick and she ends the game sick. There is no fixing why she is sick. It just is not going to change. So yeah, that was a like. I guess it is considered a line that like somebody could offer in game to help her, but she was going to always shoot it down, and it wouldn't have worked even if it was offered. That like there is nothing that would change Pell from being sick.
I guess I'll offer my favorite moment, and then at the if everyone is done, I'll talk about some NPC fun times. But I think for favorite moments, I kept on like trying to build these moments of moral quandary, and every time we got there, you guys surprised me. So like Devlin's shack and what to do about Pavlo and Thatch and all this stuff, and you guys were consistent, but I think all of my favorite moments came out of how, as a group, your different places in morality all kind of filtered into what the final decision was, because it was never you all sat down and had a conversation about it, but circumstantially all of your opinions always found a way into the final solution. And I've seen a lot of parties that just barrel through those kinds of moments and like one person makes the decision and it's done. But
right, or parties that overthink it and like
yeah
freeze almost because they're thinking too hard.
It'll be like Pell was like, no, we're going to help Pavlo as much as we can. But it wasn't in the end one thing that helped Pavlo. It was each and every one of you making decisions that would coalesce. And like, you can't engineer that as a DM. You can just hope. You can put the pieces on the table. But all of my favorite moments from this game were coalescing things that you guys were doing as a group that ended up being really good solutions to what I thought were some pretty messed up problems.
I think part of that was because you set us up with success by having us be in relationships prior to, but also not overthinking those relationships, right? So thank you for that.
Of course, my pleasure. I had just experienced, maybe for like the third time, a character web when I was building this game. And it's an idea that actually comes from World of Darkness and from Vampire the Masquerade. And I really enjoyed the nuts and bolts of that and was coming to this game and going, we have to do this. I think it enriched everything, but also you guys brought such characters that are worthy of tying together. And I think that building that web was really rewarding throughout all 10 episodes.
Yeah, I think it helps with all that too, that everybody made a conscious decision to really make a character that has a relationship with the Hollow in some way, because that sort of provides a built-in reason to band together. I think sometimes with a lot of parties, that's one of the hard things to sort of negotiate through is why are these people working together? And I think in this case, it was like each of these people have relatively rare experiences that all kind of relate back to this place. So, like, who else are you going to get to go in here? Like, this is who you got.
Did you have a favorite moment that stood out for you, John?
I really liked the whole concept of Devlin. And just the idea that, like, essentially what they're living more or less an honest life there, you know? Like, or at least as far as we experienced and interacted. Maybe not a moral one, but, you know, a moral, that concept of, like, there's an honesty to the cruelty of it. So yeah, I thought that was a really interesting character and a really interesting just series of interactions.
Agreed. Jade has thoughts.
I was just like, I thought we just found like potty parts at their place.
You definitely did.
We never got explored by anyone.
They were
like a little bit, but like
you can be honest about your evil deeds.
Yeah, the door was open,
but it's honest work.
Also, you definitely took some of it with you.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Ooh. Oh man. Yeah, I think that's something
Speaking of
really.
honesty.
I guess I will add Devlin to a list of NPCs where I want to know what happens, but also the two kings. That's the fact that like one of them
for
is, like,
no
a
reason.
The bard, like the bard romancing. Like,
I wrote a whole
so
story to get
legendary.
there too. I just really appreciate them. Yeah, I guess since we're talking about Devlin, I mean, you guys didn't kill Devlin, and if you did not pick it up, Devlin is a night hag.
Yeah.
Like, pretty much as written with 2 caveats. Devlin is a casting night hag without a coven. Because at some point I did drop the note that Devlin's arms are weird.
Yeah. I do remember.
Devlin, while very upfront, will murder and murdered the rest of his coven and sewed their arms onto his body.
Like you do.
Which is
Very
a normal thing that
Elden
normal
Ring.
people do. Yeah. It's a very normal thing that normal people do. And he just plain shifted out of that situation and is probably just back in the same place, living his best life. Just like, no one comes to bother me over here. I'll find the random traveler every so often and either eat them or trade secrets with them. And that's enough for me.
Well, one of these 2 things will happen.
Especially now that random things in their house don't keep going missing, because Pavlo was definitely haunting them.
Love this for Pavlo.
So in a way, you guys actually helped both Pavlo and Devlin.
Oh man.
Go us.
Ooh.
I hope Devlin remembers it when I inevitably come back there.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. You guys did try and kill them, and you did kill their dogs, but you never know. Little murder, a little, you know.
What's a little murder
There might be
between
more respect there.
friends?
Tasha and Gabbro just knock on the door. Hey, we're not done yet.
Hey!
Yeah,
So
more
funny.
secrets, more secrets.
Us and our wood friend here want to have a word.
Yeah, I'd imagine that Thatch would have a few words, but Thatch is a little bit more moral than a lot of people, and might have some issues with Devlin as a whole.
Neighbor?
As you might imagine, Thatch is just living his best life. He's got a friend now. Everything's great.
Oh, yeah. You make a sitcom where Thatch and I live in a house next door to Devlin. And
Yeah, that
All
would be
these
wild.
miniseries.
Squidward.
yeah.
Do not borrow a cup of sugar.
It would be salt.
He broke my cabinets again!
Oh my god. And yeah, let's see, there wasn't a lot of NPCs in this game, which was somewhat engineered.
Will you tell us more about the royal family?
Absolutely. So it's interesting. So a little bit of background on this game as a whole. So when I was first getting to know our lovely people here at Mercs, I ran a one-shot in this world. And actually, Cypher is from that one-shot. And to build the one-shot, I did a lot of world building. It's kind of a favorite hobby of mine in the first place. And then we went and talked about what would happen if someone survived from that era all the way forward and how to kind of go about that, and where the holes are and what they do and don't remember. But through that, I got to kind of explore the lineage of rulership in Hull. And Hull is a holy kingdom of Tyr. Has always been that way. There's a reason the capital city is called Tyr Haven. And the 2 kings are the grandson and his husband of the skull that Skull's staff has been carrying around this whole time because of fun reasons. Don't cross them is kind of the summary of that. And Anwar Clement. Clement is the grandson of Queen Alonia, who is the skull. And he is just a nice Aasimar. He's decided that his family, who were all Scourge Aasimar, he was like, we don't need to do this, actually. We can just be nice people. We don't have to go and be essentially Knights Templar. We could just live.
It'd just be cool.
Yeah, we could just be cool. And Anwar was like, "That's really hot. Hello, I am a bard, and I think you are great." And just wooed him for years. And just was like, I'm in love with you, and you can tell me to go away, and I will, but you haven't yet. And just was charming and kind, and they eventually was like, you know what? No, this is perfect, and it's time for us to not just be Aasimar anymore. And the two of them, my whole intention behind the creation of where Hull is at right now is that like it's very egalitarian and opening up to not just, hey, we are the kingdom of Tyr, and Anwar is a huge part of that. And they are probably a little bit like, that was my great grandfather's mace. We should probably have that back, but also yay information about what happened in the Hollow. So okay. And Clement is also very interested in like healing the world. Again, the whole like, we don't need to be Scourge Aasimar anymore. That's not a thing we need to do. In the same way, I think he's interested in kind of healing that whole region. So there might be more support in the future from Hull in fixing what's going on there.
Gotta love some positive, queer representation in what we watch. So thanks, buddy.
My favorite.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question, if that's cool with folks. And just so you know in the chat too, we try and keep these shows at about an hour, though if your questions pour in and we are enjoying the time, then we will continue on a little bit. I've asked everybody here at the table if they're cool with going a little bit longer. So if you could throw some questions in the chat, that would be really great. I did send you folks a list of questions. Are there any on here that if I didn't ask them, you would be really upset?
I'm here for whatever.
Yeah, you do you.
I'm doing me. Okay. This question I wrote for the DM, but I think it could go for anyone. The question is, what went according to plan and what didn't? Basically, how did we mess you up? But also, like, every character has their own agenda too. And like, what didn't work out for your character, or what did you end up actually like successfully achieving? But I think starting with Dungeon Bartholomew Master would probably be a good idea.
I never expect anything to go to plan. I am a firm believer in it will go off the rails. It's just a matter of how. And honestly, you guys, while the end results were usually surprising and fun and definitely not how I expected the situations to resolve, the good and bad side of a 10-shot series is that you know from the get-go you have to plan that the trajectory is going to pull you no matter what's going to happen. And it's not that I wasn't ready for you guys to instead go and hunt Kaja's horrible demon up in the mountains. It's more to say that Iza was always the destination. How you got there was kind of up to you. And I just spread the world as wide as I could. And there was a decent chance you guys weren't going to meet Devlin. And I was like, oh, that would be fine. It would be sad because Devlin's probably my favorite monster NPC I've ever made. But I was ready for you guys to go north, to go, further into the forest, go find where Bevan was a little boy. So I think in that way, it's one of those, like, expect everything to go off the rails. That's kind of my big DM trick in general. And my tip to everyone is it's never going to go the way you plan. So just make a world, make a intent for the world, and let your players devour it whole, and don't be precious about it. And you guys were wonderful and ate everything that I laid out for you. So I think it all went really well. I think the most surprising thing in the end for me was actually Gabbro staying, even though it made perfect sense. And with all the pieces laid out, it's like, of course he's staying. But I made Thatch to kind of be that last watcher, and for someone to be there with him was actually a very comforting story for me to tell.
Any other
That's
folks?
Kaja was supposed to be a very serious character. That didn't happen, obviously, but yeah, she was supposed to be a kind of a grumpy lady. But
Yeah, Bevan was not. But I didn't really go into this with like a plan for him. My kind of conceit with this was he was comfortable where he was, and this was just gonna be a thing that, or like like he felt like he was comfortable. He thought he was comfortable, but then that it ended up being a thing that like, oh, he's been in here before recently. That was kind of vague. We kept it kind of vague with a few of these aspects and just sort of let them appear in game for whatever's going to serve the narrative best. So yeah, I don't know. Everything just kind of was rolling with it to see where it went, and I'm glad I chose to do it that way. Turned out.
Yeah, along with that, my plan for this game was trust fall at Kai and to a lesser extent Jonathan, because I did not know what was wrong with Pell. I knew that Pell was, she went into the hollow and she came out sickened with magic. And I did not know what happened to her in there. And I was like, don't tell me, let's figure it out. Woo, have fun. I'm just going to be a little raccoon along on this journey. And that went great. Like, it was actually genuinely very fun and interesting to be like, I don't know what happened. It could be anything. I started this game as a player thinking that that Bevan had fucked her over in some way. I thought Bevan was going to have done something terrible to her and was the reason she was sick. I was so like, Jonathan's going to fuck me over halfway through this game. It took me a couple sessions to be like, I don't think he's going that way. But like, that's what I thought was going to happen. I was so ready for somebody to turn on her. And it didn't happen.
We had a passing conversation kind of about like, hey, what do you think happened that day? And I had one with each of you. And it never even came up as something that Bevan would have done.
No, I think I'm just a little cynical as a player. So it was nice to, as a character, not have that cynicism. Like, in my character notes, is that she intrinsically trusts Bevan, like, so much. Like, if he had wanted to stab her in the back, I would have gone a lot, like, she would never have seen it coming and would have walked right into it. Yeah. So it's nice to not be cynical.
I love how that is the exact opposite of the dynamic our characters had in the Monday
right?
game, where my character
trusted
you implicitly, and you were fucking
and
us all
I did
over.
fuck him over. I did fuck him over real good.
Make sure
You'll have to tune into the next talk show for that.
Yeah, make sure you're.
Maybe that's why you thought.
You know what? It may have been. Because I was like, I'm gonna have to fuck over several characters in this other game, so I'm like waiting for it to come in this game, and it never did. Everyone was so lovely and beautiful.
Okay, but do you know now what was up with Pell, and would you share that?
Yeah, well, I think in game it came out that the magic that Bevan's mom had used to help get him out of the hollow translated a little to Pell, and it helped protect her too. And so that Pell's magic comes from Bevan's mother's love. But
I mean, like your illness, Pell's illness.
Kai, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I kind of suspected that the hollow was really killing her and was starting to kill her, and it just stuck. And that whatever magic Bevan's mother had to give her was enough to keep her from fully dying, but not enough to make her fully alive either. So yeah, she's a little
completely accurate.
Yeah, my interpretation of it was that basically just because she wasn't Bevan, it didn't work the same way.
Yeah.
And yeah, instead of making her like healthy and powerful, it made her
alive,
frail and powerful.
Yeah,
but still alive,
just enough. So yeah, that went according to my plan. My not having a plan went according to plan. It worked out nice. Sometimes you just got trust fall at your table.
It is appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get to play a lot of characters, so like when I've DM'd enough games that I tend to just go in and be like, this is my goof, and do what you got to do with my goof. And I make my character with a few personality traits and a loose collection of ideals, and I just play them as that. And I didn't really have a plan for him other than like, this is This is what he's looking to do. This is how he feels about other people, and this is, his attitude and the way he approaches things. Because I gave him Hermit, I was like, okay, he's bad at social interactions. He doesn't really, understand.
Can someone tell him that? Can someone tell him that he's bad at social interactions?
We tried. Didn't stick.
He doesn't understand when he's offending people. He just kind of does his thing.
I love him so much.
I have to give credit where credit is due as well. I feel like there's this trope, and it kind of came up in Arcadie's table flip as well. DMs are nightmares, guys. I don't know if you know this, but when we are players at a table, we all are like, what am I going to be the most? It's just the most. I'm the most something. And it's all DMs. I've never met a single DM that doesn't do this. I'm going to be the most X. And I think it's partly the way you build NPCs just slowly corrupts your brain.
It does.
Because you have to be the most something, because that NPC is only going to be in 3 sentences and then they're gone.
Right? They need a big personality to tell you who they are at the beginning, and that's
yeah. And Gabbro showed up, but was the most for 10 episodes.
This is why table flip works, and I feel like a lot of what's behind this is so when a DM makes a PC to play, they end up with that thing where it was an NPC that you thought was going to be in one session, and then you have to fill it out because the party decides to take them along. Now you've got to make this a full character. So you had your concept that was this is going to be hilarious, and then you start to get into game and you're like, oh right, this has got to be a person.
I always actually feel like it's a dark window into the way my mind works, where when I play as a PC, you see how much I overthink literally everything because all of my NPCs have the same amount of thought behind them, but they all come in as hello, I am Devlin and I like secrets. And that's their whole thing. But if I were a PC as Devlin, which God forbid, that would be insane. You kind of slow burn it, but you're still just give me all of your secrets. One day I will give one of you a horrible nightmare. But you do it for 10 episodes. And Gabriel was that all of the time, but about returning people to the earth.
Hey, he's got a goal in mind. That's serving the earth. What that looks like, who knows? We'll see. When I made Gabbro, I told you, I said, I don't know if he's actually hearing the voice of the earth. You can 100% make out that he's crazy.
Look, we could do a whole show psychoanalyzing Puck's PCs from the past. There was the guy who thought that he was in an immersive play and playing a role. There was the mad scientist who was repentant about the horrible crimes against nature he had created, and it's stuff like inventing lemons. It's a horrible hybrid between two citrus fruit. It's yellow.
I did something terrible. I combined the DNA of a lemon and the DNA of a lime. I called it a limon.
Wow, bud.
That was the one where me and Sid were we're gonna leave them all to die, right? Right.
That was Professor Pack Ederm, and I'd love to play him.
And guess what race he was, guys?
Why are you like this?
Eric Harper, obviously.
I think it would have been funnier if he wasn't the expected one. Mm-hmm. God, Puck, notes.
I even came up with a full professor. His name was Professor Packard Ernesto Dermondos. Packy Derm was just.
Wow. So you choose violence.
Lord of Chaos.
Yes. Yeah, we all knew this, but I feel like Kai was not warned of this.
I was a little aware because I've seen him DM, but wow.
Occasionally I name characters 1970s Stan Lee. So
So where did you get Gabbro's name?
Yeah.
Gabbro Scoria is actually the names of two different types of stone that are patterned similarly to the way Gabbro looks.
Oh, I love that.
Who? Jade?
Yeah, I mean yeah. Yeah, Kaja was just supposed to be a grumpy lady. But with like the character web stuff, it just made more sense because the whole thing was to if it's okay to reveal, is just like, okay, whose characters have trust issues? And that was Kaja and Cypher, because Kaja's like, I don't like to make friends because friends, not really sure about that. I'll be nice to you, but I won't be your friend. And her having a friend changed the personality completely. So this is kind of how the cookies crumbled.
But if someone standoffish was going to have a friend, Cypher's not a bad choice.
Yeah.
That's actually exactly why, like when Kai was like, your characters have to make a relationship with somebody, Cypher was like, no. not gonna happen. And then Kaja's character description released pretty soon after that, the little like by the fire or whatever, and Cypher was like, oh, well, if I have to trust somebody, I'm gonna trust somebody who also doesn't trust anyone. And so yeah, they ended up working out, and I think it was really similar for Cypher too. Like, if I don't want to make friends, but yeah, this one will work, and then changed the character quite a bit throughout as well.
I do love that for specifically Cypher, it was like the match that made sense. Two very standoffish people who were kind of tenuously like making friends with a cat, having a relationship, and then the odd couple on the other side of your two relationships, because you and Gabbro were one of the funniest matches of characters knowing each other possible.
Yeah, it was really good. It was a short, small interaction, similar to Bevan and Gabbro. Just like, I meet you this one time, and we're best friends forever, and I'm gonna give you a name. And then it's like, I really did feel like an adopted cat that was a stray, and like, I don't want your food, I don't want your pets, but like also food is tasty and pets feel kind of good, so it was a cool dynamic too, and that's why I kind of wish that it had wrapped up a little bit, because like, yeah, Gabbro and Cypher could be another little sitcom. I don't know, it was cute.
I mean, look, if when I'm playing that character, if I see somebody being grumpy, I'm like, yes, a foil. It's like it's the Bugs Bunny mentality.
But also, like, Cypher has never been so offended by an adjective. Like, I don't know. It's true. He was like the edgiest. I didn't even expect him to be this edgy. And then like that descriptive of grumpy was suddenly like, you can call me angry, you can call me emo, you can call me, and then the word grumpy was just like, okay, well, now I feel like I have to not be, but I also don't want to be what you tell me I'm not. Yeah, he was just very frustrated.
The word is ornery.
Just echoes grumpy.
And like that being said too, as far as agendas, like, I think to a fault, I immersed this character probably too much into Kai's backstory. From the one shot on, like, this was a character that I have always wanted to play, and is like two parts of my personality merged together that I don't like about myself. And so I wanted to see how that type of person would make every choice and would go through life, and if they could make friends, and if they would become valued by any kind of society, or like what that would look like. And it was just such a foil to Angelo and Gabbro. And Angelo's the half-orc bard that I played for so long that I didn't expect that I would. And so like, yeah, I was like, well, I feel like I have to invest. And talking to Kai about stuff in the background was just so fun. And getting that relationship with a member of the royal family, and then forgetting about it and having to play a role where I knew things but my character didn't know them was so engaging and entertaining for me. So yeah, as far as like what did I accomplish agenda wise, I think as a player I hit almost everything. Except for I wish I'd looked in that stupid mirror. Like, it's just like to this moment, it still bothers me, which is why I made that one of my questions.
We learned that in the last game. Every time you give anybody a mirror that gives information, every single person wants to look at it all the time. Absolutely.
What a great segue. Can I throw the mirror question out there?
Yeah.
Okay, Kai. Please tell us what each character would have seen should they have each had a turn to look in the mirror.
Okay, so here's this insane thing. When I think it was Bevan, when Bevan looked in the mirror, there was a dice roll. So I have another campaign setting that has a lot of seers in it. So I used my seer mechanic. And the trick with this is that it will show you something from before you were born, something from when you were very young, something from adulthood, something very recent, something from just a moment ago, or something that I think is the most plot relevant and fun for me to do. So it's a D6 roll, and literally the one time you guys got to use the mirror was the one that I was hoping that I was going to get to give Bevan. The goal is that all of these give you something, whether it is something you missed just a moment ago or information you're looking for from your childhood. I like lore and I like building long stories for people. And the problem is if I have a mirror that gives people that all the time, exactly what they're looking for, it'll just give away all of my secrets. Secrets are fun. So in order to answer your question, I have a table attached to it, but I will say that I'll give you the nugget from each person's vision. How's that?
I was going to say, do you want us to each roll a
Roll
D6?
for it.
If you've got a D6 on hand, I'll take it.
I mean, I got them.
I'm not going to lie.
Oh,
I
well.
just wanted to know more about Alfric.
I just want the nugget. I don't need to roll for it. Because I also
still
suspect
rolling.
Pell's answer is very mundane. Just so not special.
That's fair.
I got a 5.
Fun.
Which is like it doesn't help as much.
I love that.
Can you tell this is what I've been waiting for this talk show for?
That's the
Amazing.
reason we're doing this.
This is all just an elaborate setup to get this question answered.
Agendas.
Saber, I love you. You're going last.
That's fair.
For dramatic
Where's
tension.
the chaos meter? I need $100 in the chat right now.
Inside me a cool 100.
I'm gonna start with Puck. Gabbro has been running from something. He doesn't know it. He's long forgotten it. The Earth has reclaimed the knowledge, but Gabbro has been around for quite a while. And while there's a lot of stories about how trees remember in their rings, Gabbro's a stone. Stones don't age, they don't change that rapidly. And the marks of time do not stay on them for very long. And Gabbro once had a family and a life with others just like him.
Bro, the rock trolls?
Excuse me?
Incredible. Thank you. While Bevan got the main answer to his question, I think for Bevan, there are so many questions to be answered in the past still of how he's from so long ago and doesn't remember how his mother saved him. But I think in the mirror there are answers, but months of looking in it would be the only way to get that information. But I think with another look, he would still see that there is so much time that he doesn't know. Kaja knows all of her demons and all of the stories that have happened around her, and for good or ill, that would be mostly what she would find in the mirror. But I would say in there is also the story of why she's actually called the Lionheart, because the truth is in there. And that would be what I would hope she would find in the mirror. Pell would see a very sweet and lovely life, full of very few cares and moms that love her very much. But if she looked for long enough, just like Bevan, there would be answers to questions about how the Hollow devours life. That people like Proskovia and like Devlin are everywhere in there. Kaja knows of one that you've never met. And I think in there she would find an answer to a question she doesn't really want to ask because she doesn't need to know. Cypher could spend every day for the rest of his life looking in that mirror and would learn a new thing about a person he doesn't remember. The stories would include being a pickpocket in Isa, would include traveling far and wide throughout the kingdom and seeing the slow descent of Bolsenia into what would eventually become the Hollow as the hells rise up and confusion spreads among the people and war begins to break out. But I think that what he would find is that who he is now as Cypher is braver than who he used to be, because who he used to be would run from every challenge. And that's how he ended up in Hole. That's how he ended up wandering. It's that he couldn't face the things that were chasing him. And this is the first time that I think he did.
Thank you. I feel like I can sleep now. I was going to actually send it to you as a message after the show, and then I was like,
I need answers.
Yeah, no.
but I also like wanted to hear what everybody else would be. Like it just, yeah, it was such a powerful tool in game that it would have been a great, I think, like after episode for each person to look through the mirror and like the next day and the next day. So thanks for giving us those nuggets. I appreciate
Of course.
you. I'm going to jump to one of the players' questions that you folks had for each other. I will go with Arcades. Since we moved through levels pretty fast, were there any abilities or spells you'd have liked to use, but they just never came around?
I had interception as an ability for my fighting style. And there was not a single opportunity. Those for the uninitiated. Interception is part of a protection fighting style. So if an enemy is hit with a physical attack within 5 feet of you, you can intercept that with your shield and reduce the damage on that attack for a dice roll. That didn't happen at all throughout the entire game. Anytime anybody was damaged near me, it wasn't a physical attack. It was like a spell or something. Or
It could have happened. There were hellhounds.
There were hellhounds, but it just never come up. And I was so ready for that moment to throw my shield up in front of somebody, and it never come through.
So you're saying more combat next time. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing more combat.
Look, I was ready to dive in front of foes and protect people and stuff because I made him very mobile. So I made him so that he could get around the battlefield very quickly, but it just never come up. So that was what I was sitting on for the whole game.
I think I got to use pretty much all of Bevan's cool stuff. The one thing, that last battle, I totally wanted to go through that horde of zombies to get there, which ultimately like would not have been the wise or tactically advantageous choice, but
Bevan choice.
a Chardalon stride lights everything on fire that you go within 5 feet of. So like a horde of zombies to just run down through them all, throwing off 4 arrows as you go, would have been cool. But he got to, lightning at a bunch of people. So it's
That's some The Flash shit. That's
And also, you avoided lair actions by doing what you did.
yeah, no, like again, it would not have been a good thing to do that. It was good that draw them out, but
Can piggyback off of my BFF's answer. Bevan and Pell were specifically made to have combat synergy that we like just never came up.
yeah.
Like we have like crazy ability to fight in the dark and give each other buffs with it and just like dominate a battlefield, and it never happened.
The one time
I mean, it definitely did happen.
Everybody got
that
mad.
one time.
So,
The one
so
time
we
it
didn't
happened,
do it
she
again.
aimed at the wrong place. You aimed at the wrong place.
No, and you had the same initiative, and then he's like, "You can go first," and then went first.
Oh well, that was because we held actions. I didn't know if she was even gonna do hers. I didn't know what it was.
I tried to make you look cool, and you just. Psh. Also, Pell is like nearly impossible to hit. Like, if she would get hit, she would go down real easily. But like, she had like 3 things that could stack, and like, and just.
I think I tried once. I think there was one attack that actually tried to actually hit you.
Yeah,
and
but
it
like
didn't
physical
happen.
attack. She's got the combo of mage armor, her cloak of displacement, and mirror image. So like, good luck guessing which one's the real Pell and hitting her. Fuck you.
Also, let that stack be a testament to anyone who's like, you can't play a chronically ill character in Dungeons and Dragons. There is mechanical backup that says you absolutely can.
Yeah, this is some like behind the screen stuff that you can't see, but like I had 0 constitution through the entire thing. Pell was intentionally a chronically ill character. Pell basically has the magical version of my chronic illness. And so I was very adamant that she has 0 constitution, her hit points stay low, and I'm gonna do nothing to buff her constitution. I'm never gonna fix that one. And I got around it by buffing her dex and items and good spell use. And yeah, because I probably have less than half of everybody else's hit points. So yeah, that's how you make a chronically ill character. You don't need constitution, you just need to be smart. And have some healers.
And you had some healers, and that was the thing too, is like I took a spell specifically, I think, to help Pell, but because of that first episode, I was like, oh, maybe I just never will. And then I never needed to. So I just tossed the spell and picked something else up.
I think it helped that like I have really good range on spells too. So I was able to stay back in a lot of fights. And so I think in a longer campaign, it would become much more apparent that like Pell is both 1, hard to hit, and 2, goes down if you do manage to hit her.
Yeah, but there's so many glass cannon examples like that there's no planet where like that one stat change was going to be the make or break, because I could see characters that have significantly stronger con still go down on those hits if they're, another D6 caster.
Yeah. Kai was a wonderful DM, and when I was like, I want to play a chronically ill character, how can we mechanically do this? They were like, knock 2 stats off Constitution, and you can take a feat. And so yeah, I traded health for Eldritch Invocation. I had Devil's Sight so that I could always see Bevan.
It's the best. Also, thank you for bringing that to me, because it really, as a DM, I always want to bring the things that the stories that people want to tell to the table. And that was very meaningful to me, because you are not the only chronically ill person I know. And seeing people try and find themselves in the narrative is so important to me. And finding ways to mechanically be like, yeah, the rest of this shit doesn't matter. You can just do you.
Yeah.
It makes it more fun for me, and I hope it makes it more fun for you, because that's the stories that I come here to tell.
Yeah, I've wanted to play a character who is sick like I am for a couple years now, and it was just a matter of finding the right setting, and this is it. Like, yes, magical shadow sickness. She is innately sick and innately powerful. Yes, this is it. Done.
And I love her.
It's really beautiful. Thanks for sharing. Jade, do you have anything you want to add to this question?
I mentioned this like before we started episode 9, I think, but I had a feat that I completely forgot about with the meta magic and never got to use it. And then the reason why I made Kaja a grave cleric is because I really like this spell, Vampiric Touch. I think it's really cool. I haven't been able to use it at all in any game I've ever played. Still have it, so
our hit points barely got touched in
One
that final battle.
day. Yeah,
It's-
but I mean, it was cool. It was like a community supporting us. But I think that if there was like a of those Lost extended edition, then yeah, the party definitely went through like hordes of zombies, like action movie style, showing off all their cool abilities.
The inside of Proskovia's actual chambers, I was like, this is the reason. So that our lovely viewers know, before that last session, I said, hey guys, how do we feel about character death? Because demi-liches are terrifying and can do stuff that is very hard to counter. But I built this game knowing that she was always going to be a demi-lich, and their lair actions alone can knock off 30 HP. And I am both simultaneously so sad that you guys did not get to show off all of your cool buff, debuff, absolutely massacre every zombie skills. But on the flip side, that chaos meter roll, I think, was one of my favorite moments in the game.
Yeah.
It's always hard to nerf your big bad, but on the flip side, like, for there to be a window for you guys to succeed at something that we've been laying the seeds for the entire game was really fun. But yeah, I would love to go rehash that battle one day in the lair.
I think it was really poetic too, of like literally she's committed mass murder, so the souls of the mass murdered were like, hey, here's an insider tip. I think that's really nice. So narratively it was really cool too.
Bring her out.
Yeah.
Bring her out
Totally.
into the square.
I think I also I tried to use all of my cool stuff. My character sheet was more complicated of characters than I've played in a long time. I haven't actually successfully done a multi-classed character at this high of level. And I started off with 5 of Rogue because that's when all the cool stuff happens. And then only 1 of Death and Wing Cleric. And if I had known more about Kaja's character as a player, I might not have gone that route. But I'm really glad that narratively it worked out for the characters so well. And Vampiric Touch was also one that I wanted to do. But like the Skull Staff, I was really planning on saving it for the big bad. And like I wanted it to be that, but then when the 2 guards showed up and the charisma wasn't working, it gave Cypher a different side of himself that because normally he would be sneaky and he would attack from the shadows, but he actually like got to stand out in front of them and do something like I said, like it just was so different than who he used to be. So, and like the other thing about clerics that I'm still trying to figure out is that whole divine intervention thing. And like, how do you get information from your gods, and why do they believe in their gods so much if they can't really talk to them? And like my own faith journey has been a lot of that too, of like, I'm asking these questions and I'm not getting the answers. And then there was one time Bevan was like, well, are you sure you didn't get your answer? Are you sure you didn't get what you asked for? And it was like, I don't know, it just really connected to me as a person too with faith. And yeah, so I used the things that I wanted to use, but not the way that I wanted to use them. So.
I think also specifically Cypher being a multi-class, it was such a journey because when we built the one-shot version of Cypher, you came to me with a character pitch and I was like, well, this is obviously a grave cleric. And you were like, it's what? And it was a journey for you, and it's been really fun to see you, because you were like, I have an idea that Kellamvor is involved in this, and to see them grow and take more levels in cleric and really embrace that they were sent by Kellamvor, and that conversation with them and Kaja. I have goosebumps just thinking about it, where they realized that they were both devotees of the same god, because you spent the whole time being so secretive. And it was, to me, you guys have known each other, but that was the most vulnerable that the 2 of you have ever been with each other. And it was so cool to see that blossom, because I got to know the whole time that you're both devotees of Kellamvor. But
Totally.
it was very cool to go from the conversation where we started so long ago now with Cypher to that conversation and acknowledging and talking about, I do believe in something, I'm just not sure how to go about it, was so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we did the one shot, I did 3 levels of rogue and 2 levels of cleric, I think. And then
Yeah, something
we
like
had
that.
an opportunity to be like a little further along for this one. And so I decided to go 5 in 1. And yeah, it's a multi-classing is really difficult, I think, because the rest of the party it felt like they were so much higher in levels than I was, but at the same time I had all of these other cool things. And then there was the whole, like, Cypher was so complicated with not actually being UNT, being reborn, and then like that situation. So yeah, it was cool. I appreciated the storytelling that everybody did. And now I want to acknowledge that it is time technically for us to end. But I'm going to offer one more time for everybody around the table if there was anything that was left unsaid. One of the questions that I asked was like, are there secrets that are left unspoken that you wanted to share? Or how did you decide the type of character that you wanted to play? Or were there loose ends? Or you folks asked each other's questions, like did your character change at all from the concept to the actual play, which I think we touched on a little bit, but or the relationship that surprised you was a question that one of the folks at the table brought up. There's lots of questions left here, but is there anything else that you didn't get to say in the talk show that you'd like to say now?
I think the original concept for Bevan was just that he's going to be like extremely friendly and like unobtrusive, and I think like I think we did kind of got that idea out that like that is kind of how he was known by people who know him. But a lot of like the way I ended up playing him and the way the story kind of shaped the character as it developed and came up, he ended up being a lot more just kind of like sad boy story, which was not at all what I wanted to what I was planning to do with him. So I tried to really emphasize that, like, no, his story is fine. Like, as much of his life as he remembers is fine, and he doesn't want to poke at the bad stuff. But the whole premise of this story included poking at his bad stuff. And I think it was just the way from like the first episode when it kind of like, hey, here's what you're doing. The way all the other characters were enthusiastic about like, yeah, let's go into the hollow. It felt like somebody had to be kind of the Eeyore about this. And it just kind of made sense. So I just went with it. And I'm overall, I'm happy with how the character came out and stuff. But yeah, I think if I had it to do over again, I don't know. I don't know if I'd do it. I don't know if I'd play him differently. But it was just interesting the way the story and sort of everyone else's kind of reactions to the call to action kind of made him just had me playing him differently.
Just conversely, Hell was supposed to be Eeyore. I don't want to think about the hollow. Like, written in my backstory was she doesn't think too hard about it. And yet I forget why. Why I cannot quite remember why in that first episode in the call to action, something made her have to flip to like, no, this is a good idea. And so yeah, I think that's
part of it.
Flipped.
We could probably go back and look at it and pinpoint
see exactly what it is.
The moment where we both realized like, wait,
no, we got to swap
for her character. If she's kind of carefree about stuff, why wouldn't she be like, yeah, adventure?
But yeah, I think we swapped slight traits. I think Pell should have been a little, or was intended to be a little more Eeyore, and Bevan was a little more freewheeling, and we just flipped it at some point because it worked.
I think that ultimately that's more interesting, though. That it's like, the person who's got a harder day-to-day life is a lot more just like chipper and optimistic about whatever.
Sure, I don't give a shit. I'm already dead. Let's go.
Yeah. And the guy who's absolutely like healthy and is totally probably is extremely equipped for going into the Hollow.
Mhm.
Was like,
Doesn't want to.
no, why are we doing this? Like, you definitely shouldn't be doing this.
I think it was wanting to help Haver. I think that's why it
Yes.
switched.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like Pell was like, we need
But
to help
we have
Haver. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like drop a puppy in your lap. I was
did.
like, here you go.
Puppy that we didn't totally trust. Some of us.
Yeah, no. He's irrelevant. Oh no.
Oh no, but he's still a puppy.
I trusted Haver implicitly. I was just concerned that I might have to put him down eventually.
Right.
Does Gabbro not trust anyone?
Okay, so like untied loose ends and secrets that aren't secrets. This was Gabbro's first adventuring party. Gabbro doesn't know what a friend is, and like, so his ideas of what these things are and how they work are based on completely his own assumptions about the world, and like that's how he lived his life because he was a hermit. I built him as a hermit. His interactions with people and civilization have always just been in passing. And so he was 100% an expression of what he thought a good, friendly person was.
Getting there.
Think I tried to do for Kaja. It didn't work out because she's still a spellcaster. Is that I usually use defensive stats as dumb stats for characters. So usually Pell's type of character is the type of character that I would make. So I was like, wow, I don't have to worry about my character getting one shot. This is insane. Physical activity can be done. Wow. So that was strange for me.
Pell also shifted because Pell's also a carryover from the one-shot game, which she's probably so unrecognizable that you guys don't realize it. But she started out paired with another player and another character who their schedule wouldn't work out for the game. But she was originally paired with a fighter, I want to say, an Eldritch Knight fighter, and she was their little sister. She was her little sister. And they were bounty hunters. And Pell was significantly shyer. She was still sick and sickly, but she was incredibly quiet, very shy. Definitely like looked up to the older sister. And when that player wasn't able to, it was like, okay, well, gotta shift this around a bit. And then Jonathan came in and was like, do you want to pair up characters together? And I was like, that's great, because Pell was originally with someone and they're not here. Yeah, she works as a pair. And so it just flipped that she became a much sunnier, outgoing character then, as opposed to quiet, and like she took more personable spells and a lot more firepower spells. She used to be very sneaky. But yeah, she started as a little sickly changeling, so that was still there. But I think just pairing her up with somebody different shifted kind of her core personality quite a bit.
Oh, here's a fun fact about that I don't know if this ever came out in game. Bevan was named Bevan by Pell because he like didn't know his name when he got out of the Hollow.
Yeah.
And so this was chosen because I was like, what is the most like Tim or John name you can think of for this setting?
And so I actually came up with like, I think I sent Jonathan like 6 names that were the most Tim, John, basic fantasy boy names I could think of. And so I did pick Bevan, and he picked it out of a list of
it sounds
the
most like Bevan.
Yeah.
It sounds the most man.
No. So yeah, both Pell and I
Oh, I love him.
Now that you say that, these conversations that I've had with you or around you where you're like, oh, the Dragon Age thing, you just take a normal name and put some extra letters.
Yes. Yes. That's how you do it.
Now it all makes sense.
So originally it was Ben.
Or Kevin.
No, Bevan is Bevan is a
Kevin.
legitimate British name. Bevan's
Yeah,
a
it
real
is.
name. But yeah, it is very close to Kevin. But yeah, I sent him a list that was like Finn, Dimitri, Aiden. Like there was it was just some really basic fantasy boy names, and was like, pick whichever one you like. So yeah, I do think it's very cute that Pell named him and through that, I sort of named him.
It did come up a bit because I remember clipping that moment where
He doesn't remember his name. Yeah.
you'll still be Bevan. Like, yeah,
Oh yeah, that's right. We had a okay. Yeah, we had a,
yeah. I remember that. I watched all the episodes twice.
The whole 3 and some hours.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
For 2
Thank you.
shows.
You're amazing.
25 to 30 hours of programming. But you know what? It's self-contained 25 to 30 hours of programming. So, you know, for those of you out here looking for something
make
to watch
your way
on our
through
channel, these last 2 shows that we did were specifically made to be watchable from start to finish, as opposed to if you go back to our first show collectively with the like sister show to it, it's got to be like 400 or 500 hours of programming. So
Yeah, and you know, it's getting colder. You're going to be spending a lot more time indoors. A lot of the shows are going to go on winter hiatus. It's a good time to catch up. You need something to watch, something to put on in the background while you go play Pokemon or whatever. You can watch the show.
I offer listening to it as like an audiobook podcast style while you're driving. Obviously don't have the video facing you while you're driving, but listening to it, like I love it.
On the navigation display if you were.
We're very rarely a
that.
visual. Nope. We're very rarely a visual show, though. So at least there's that.
you should be able to follow most of it by audio. And I mean, all these are still auto publishing into our podcast feed, right? Are they?
They should be. Let me check.
Well, hey, you can always use YouTube because they're playing.
And if not, I can put them in there.
Anyone else? Did anybody get missed? I just wanted to say that I didn't get to in talk show talk about how much Cypher appreciated Bevan. I just think that like I don't know if it's the connection I had to that other character this one's kind of based off of, who like really wanted to learn Infernal. It was like, and I don't know why, it was just this connection to tieflings that he's a drow that I play. And it just like, there was never any connection really, but the DM was like, you can learn Infernal. Oh no, it was, you can learn the spell Hellish Rebuke if your character goes through a series of learning Infernal. And then it became this like character-driven task to find tieflings and to learn the language. I don't know if that was a spillover, but then like everything that had to do with tieflings in the backstory, Cypher just wanted to know more. And then that's, I think, why at that one point it was like, does Cypher know this mother, or like, has he seen her, or like, what is that connection? Because he was so invested in like Bevan in the Nine Hells and like the connect. And then, yeah, the moment that Bevan and Cypher had after the nightmare, like sticks with Cypher in his core now. So yeah, I just really appreciated that with the two of them.
Yeah, Bevan. I guess there was one ability he never used, because I specifically made the choice to never use it. And it was Burning Hands. Like I wasn't gonna have him doing any fire stuff unless something happened to make him like come to terms with his background. So that's why, like, okay, the last episode, let's bust out a fire spell, but I still didn't do Burning Hands.
Yeah. Welcome to my tirade against the idea that tieflings are just evil, sexy devils. Tieflings are cool and complicated, and especially a world where the hells have done other things. Of course they're more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, on behalf of everybody at the table, I just want to say thank you to the viewers who watched us all the way through and who made it here tonight, and to the future viewers who watched the show all the way through and then hopefully come back and watch this talk show for all of the dirty secrets. And yeah, keep coming to Mercs, because the storytelling here is amazing, unreal every time. Every episode is worth watching all the way through, sometimes twice. Yeah, I just want to say thank you as well to Mercs of Mischief for having me, and Kai for running the story, and to the players who made this story so incredible. I think we're all emotionally invested in this story long term. So yeah, thank you to all the storytellers as well. Did I miss anybody? Are there sponsors or anything?
No, stay tuned for the raid. It looks like Dirty 20's playing Stars Without Number. So we're gonna kick it over to
Exciting.
them.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Bye.
Not everybody.
Actually, here we'll just live raid. Ready? Let's
Live raid.
kick it.
Boop, boop, boop.
Counting down in 8 seconds.
3.
Yeah, last things, just make sure that if you want to stay tuned on what we've got coming out, we're gonna be doing a little bit. We'll probably at some point do a little bit of a like, hey, here's what's coming up for the next year, sort of.
Here's what you
video
can
chat
expect.
or
We'll
something.
do our D23 for Mercs of Mischief.
Right? Yeah. But yeah, for the time being, just jump into our Discord. If you're looking for a game, we got a couple chats in there where there's always seems to be somebody looking for a game. Make sure you're following us on Twitter and all that sort of good stuff. Until then, let's raid.
Raid.
Bye.